my daughter was an only child. My wife and I had a daughter who passed away almost 10 years ago from a rare genetic illness called Alagille syndrome. And it's just something that she battled with all her life. She had six heart surgeries, I believe, during her life. Had an ostomy bag and so forth. So she took a lot of bullying from the other kids because she was jaundiced and so forth. But when she passed away, it just left us at absolute ground zero. I can't describe uh, the sense of emptiness that comes with losing your only child, and that's not something that I would wish on anybody. That said, I know that my experience is one of billions, and I will in no way claim to have some terrible life because of it. But creativity has allowed me to work through that in visual art, in writing, and it's just so important just to let it go and just let it happen. There's no specific way that you do working through grief or working through whatever trauma. Uh, if it's prescriptive, then it's probably not going to fit you because there is no one size fits all with it. Um, so it's the other side of it too is that there comes a point where enough is enough. Okay, and you've you're wallowing rather than doing it right. And that brings me back to the Ethan Cross point. I finally figured it out. He was talking about how talking things out doesn't always make it better. In fact, after you've talked about it once, it generally makes it worse because what you're doing is giving it life and immersing yourself in that problem. And the
Yeah.
more you talk about it, the more you complain about it, the more you loop through it,
Mm.
the bigger it gets until it overwhelms you. Yes, there is value in talking out your problems. There is a value coming to someone who is able and willing to listen and has the emotional intelligence again to respond appropriately and say, look, this is what I'm dealing with. This sucks. I'm really tired. I just need to just let it all out. That's valuable.
Mm.
But Ethan Cross says is that when you're done with that, what we tend to do is just dive back in the other end. We walk around the pool and dive back in the other end, and we start it all over again. And that's not always external. We do that with other people, but we do it with ourselves.
Mm.
I can think of many times where I've lost an hour or two having an argument in my head that may have never happened in real life. Just an argument that I think might happen someday with some person I've never met. And it's just a complete waste of time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and similarly, Alan Watts says, when you get the message, hang up the phone. And so I think that's one of the challenges with being creative when that a lot of that creativity comes from personal trauma and pain.
Mm.
I see this with a lot with musicians. They have a great album. They'll have two or three great albums, and then it just starts getting lame. And the artists have worked their stuff out, and they're becoming more content with life, and they're okay, and they don't have this strong
Oh,
emotion that
yeah.
drove their earlier work. So it's a double-edged sword. Do I be happy, or do I keep being miserable and give people what they want? And a lot of people get in this creative space can kind of get stuck in miserable because that's what they think drives their creativity.
On that very point, so I've been listening to Linkin Park, um,
Mm,
and there's a song called Sky of a Million Stars,
okay.
and Chester, the lead singer, committed suicide following childhood abuse. And when you go back and you listen to the lyrics of Linkin Park songs, he was communicating this terrible experience he'd had as a child. In every song, you can hear it. Once, uh, obviously, hindsight is 2020, but in this song he goes, "Who cares if light goes out in a sky of a million stars? Flickers, flickers. Who cares if one moment, if one's life ends, if for only a moment?" And you just go, "Wow, that's pretty. It's profound, and it's." Your personal story is so tragic. I feel a fraud for talking about my traumas, which are infinitely smaller, but